Order. Roll call. Trustee Snowman.
Here.
Trustee Grum.
Here.
Trustee Rogers here. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, consideration of the minutes of the January 14th meeting. Motion to approve. Are there any changes or amendments to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So, motion. I will second.
Motion by Grum, second by Snowland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chief's report. Looks like we only got one.
Yeah,
So
Richard's not here, but and I don't have his report, but you got copies of that?
I got that one.
So month of January, Lake Forest
There's the other
ran
chief, right on time.
14 total calls, 10 ambulance calls. The rest were service calls with false alarms. It was, we had some challenging days there with the negative temps. And one day we ran 25 calls, the next we ran 35 calls in a 24-hour shift. So we were busy, but everybody was responded to in a timely manner, and everything was. You guys did a great job keeping up in that weather. Is there the fire prevention on another item, or do you want me to discuss that now?
We're gonna handle that all on the same item.
Yeah, so I've given that and forwarded it to Brian O'Connor there, as this is from our both fire prevention bureaus. Both of our guys came up with this. It's basically the 2000 edition of the NFPA code and life safety in there, which is what the county uses right now. County subs out all plan review to Lake Forest right now in this area anyway. So I think the basic gist of this was to come in with a code that was not any more restrictive than people are following right now, but we can enforce it, that it's been adopted by the district. And then the overall plan would be to kind of a 3 to 5 year phase of starting to ramp up to get more in line with the more current codes that Lake Forest and Libertyville enforce, and we just adopted like the most current ones. And that will ease in plan review because everybody will be on the same platform. But we realize that there's business owners in this area that have never been held to any fire code for a long time, and we don't want to just throw that on them and say, hey, by the way, you have to be compliant to this. We want to, ease that in and take time to build those relationships, get in the buildings, and help people just to get current with the current county code that may not even been enforced. So, pending approvals and edits from Mr. O'Connor there, we can, we can do whatever needs to be done to massage this or make this.
Anybody have any comments on that, Brian?
Well, we can talk about one item number something. Item number 15, which the agenda already talks about. So I was just postponed.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to.
Oh, it isn't.
Right. Okay. Chief Cry?
All right. So just giving department reports.
Well, just any updates you got. Did
Okay.
you have the sheet from this month?
Yes.
Okay.
So here is. This is for the end of January 19.
Ooh, a big month.
This is for the 3 months of 18 that we were running the department. And then this is a bit of one line, but I thought I'd just make you guys copies. This is our draft 1920 fire department budget. So there's a copy for each of you guys. And then this is what we put together for internally for part of the fire department budget, but it's mostly statistical information there. So these are the numbers, statistical stuff.
Marcy, would you like to see the call sheets?
I'm okay for now. You can take a look at them later. Thank you.
Right, they're right up here. Just
Look at them at your leisure.
Okay. Anything jump out at you? Anything going on?
No.
I'd like to say thank you for the emails on the weather and the updates. Much appreciated.
Very much so.
Yeah, you're welcome. I was just gonna, I know Chief Siebert mentioned the weather. I think overall, Village of Libertyville Township, Knollwood, Meadowa, Green Oaks, pretty much came through pretty well. We didn't have on that Friday and Saturday when it started warming up, we had a lot of sprinkler breaks, but I don't think we had any. I think we had one in the district, and the rest were, when I say district, Libertyville Fire Protection District, the rest were in the village. And our worst one was at Spring Meadows, that took out 16 units, so we had to find housing for 16 people at about 2 in the morning, and that was at Thursday morning, Wednesday night, Thursday
Real
morning,
cold
when it
one.
was like 28 below. But other than that, we came through it pretty much unscathed, and we had, you guys, like you said, we're getting the information, and you can expect that when we know we have weather coming or situations coming, because that's what we do for planning purposes, and we'll definitely keep you guys up to speed, and any of that stuff, or if we are, and I think I was sending it to you, Carl, the stuff you could send out on your website or to your friends in Old
Right.
to get out to the
We
neighbors.
got that out to the neighbors, so again, really appreciate it.
Does this as well go out then,
Oh,
the call sheets from?
these are going on our website.
Okay, great.
And if you could email these out.
You want to email?
Yeah.
You already, you obviously.
Yes,
Yes, I
I've
already
got
put you
yours,
guys right away.
and then we'll put
And
them
Chief,
out
do you have a time on that meeting on Saturday yet, on the 16th?
So we're going through dress rehearsal tomorrow morning,
Okay.
and I just got the budget presentation to
Right.
review today. So it goes through all administration, and then building department, then fire department. So, and then there's a lunch break at the end, so I'm gonna assume that we're gonna be hitting it around 11, 10:30, 11, probably closer to 11. But I'll know tomorrow, and then I'll get it out.
Okay, that sounds great. Anybody else have anything else for the chiefs? Other than when we get to number 15, we'll try to run through this. Nothing? Okay, public comment. Anybody from the public have a comment? Going
Yeah.
once, going twice?
Yeah. Mark Simonowski, Norwood resident. Couple of questions, or rather comments, I guess, regarding the event that was held here on January 30th. I see that's agenda item number 13. Through an email chain, it looked like that President Rogers stated that it was a event for Lake County Sheriff's and Waukegan Police Department for canine training. However, I followed up with a few phone calls. Looks like it was a private company called Tops that was in here providing training for them.
That's who trains them.
Yeah, but in the email it said it was Lake County Sheriff and Waukegan. It didn't say that it was Tops, which is a private company, for-profit company, not a law enforcement agency. They do provide training to the law enforcement agencies, that's correct. It seems like, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the decision was made by one person, I'm guessing, not by the board, because I don't remember anything in the last month's meeting regarding that. It looks like it's now after the fact being brought up. Was there an agreement in place? How were the funds paid? Was a receipt provided from the district to the entity that was using the facilities? And why was the policy in place of use of the building not followed? I know this was brought up before while the firefighters were here, specifically regarding a birthday party where policies were followed, but yet it was made to seem that it was not. Also, that legal counsel was not consulted for the event, again, based on email. So that, I just wanted to bring that up, whether or not the board wants to address that. Obviously, that's your prerogative. The other thing I'd like to bring up from last month's meeting is the reimbursement to Trustee Rogers' vehicle. Is there any proof that the damage was done at the meeting? I know that there was a lot of speculation. I know I was contacted by the police department regarding anything that I did or did not see. So I wanted to see what the police's determination was on that. If said damage was repaired, I'd like to see proof of said repair and proof of an estimate of the repair and the damages.
All right, anybody else? Nope. Okay, next, attorney's report.
I got two things for the board's information. A couple pieces of paper because attorneys never go over the paper. The first item for your information, this is a copy. Last Thursday, we were in court February 7th hearing in court on the petition concerning the validity of the IGA that's in place now. This is a copy of the order, and essentially what the court granted the motion to dismiss the petition, although it was dismissed without prejudice. And I just thought I'd give you a copy because you all weren't there, so there was just a copy. So that matter is done as far as the court is concerned.
And what was the total expense to the district?
My
for the
next
whole thing?
point, not that I anticipated, here's the handout. The total costs through January, so I don't have February 7th, but through January is $16,917.14, 16917.14.
So the district has expended just in legal fees, almost $17,000 to defend something that the judge on the very first court date said falls under the Illinois Constitution. Correct?
No, the very first court date, the judge says we can't make a decision because you need to have notice. On the next court dates, the hearing dates in September, late September, the judge, there was a hearing and the judge ruled on the motion for a temporary restraining order and denied it for a couple of legal reasons. One, no likelihood of success on the merits, and secondly, the lack of standing. We went later on, and in December, on December 13th, we had another hearing on an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order, and the judge again denied that motion for a TRO based on the same finding that there was not a likelihood of success on the merits, and there's discussion about why that is, what that is. So the TROs were denied. And at the December 13th meeting, the judge offered petitioners the opportunity to file an amended petition or complaint. That was to be filed by January 10th. It was not filed by January 10th. The judge gave us the opportunity to January 24th to file a reply to that response. The only thing we did was note that they didn't file an amended complaint, and two, we did provide a copy of the actual final IGA, which we didn't have when we filed the motion to dismiss, and that was the basis for the judge's decision on last Thursday, February 7th.
A wonderful use of taxpayer money.
And those were the only other thing that I could tell you about is Springfield. We don't know what's going on in Springfield yet. Things are evolving. February is typically the month bills are introduced, or kind of scuttled around and prepared and drafted. March is when the bills, they'll have committee hearings on bills. That's probably when you'll get the first notification of, hey, this is a good bill, call your legislators to support it, or hey, we, whoever the we is, don't think this is a good bill, call your legislators to oppose it. But March will be the first indication. April, it will be the hearings in the chamber where they're introduced, and then we do the old trade papers thing, because in May it'll go to the other chamber, so that theoretically by the end of May, if it's going to pass, it will have passed both chambers, so it would be sent to the governor. That's what the Constitution calls for. So, I mean, and we've heard a couple different bills that are out there, but at this stage it's so early, and subject to amendment at a couple stages, it's far too early to really comment on anything. But I'll keep you appraised as time goes on if there's anything exciting.
Please do.
And that was the two things that I was going to talk about.
Okay, December treasurer's report. We already presented it last month. We just need to approve it, correct?
Well, you get through January, right?
Well,
That's coming up.
that's
right
coming up
after this.
next.
Got it, okay.
So a motion to approve December's treasurer's report and outstanding invoices as presented and reviewed last month.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Grum, second by Snowden. Roll call vote. Trustee Grum.
Aye.
Trustee Snowden.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers. Aye. Treasurer's report. Again, is that the one for last month? So right.
This is this month.
That's
This
this
is
month. Okay, Madam Treasurer.
All right, Lake Forest Bank and Trust Capital, $36,440.38. Lake Forest Bank and Trust Checking, $316,000, $786.36. Lake Forest Bank and Trust Reserve, $274,287.93. Total assets, $627,514.67.
Okay, motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
So we'll get into the budget tracking because we have.
I thought we did them separately.
Nope.
Oh, there it is,
Checks
sorry,
second.
on the other page.
Yep.
Apologize, had to flip it over, Carl.
There's not much to track.
Nope.
Exactly.
Very minimal. And the thing is, I received a check.
I have another check for you too, I'll give that to you just a minute.
This one,
We can talk about that under the insurance, which is an agenda.
oh, it's agenda, okay, never mind. So we're tracking, we received all the funds and we will receive for this year, except for any sales of assets that will be coming forward.
Okay. Now can I have a motion for the treasurer's report?
So move. Second.
Motion by Snowden, second by Grum. Roll call vote, trustee Snowden.
Aye.
Trustee Grum.
Aye.
Trustee Rogers, aye, motion passes. Okay, we'll do it all over again.
Checks.
Checks for this
Checks,
month.
all right. Checks total $147,627.69. We had the second installment of the IGA. We had the last bill from TDS. And Comcast is the startup, so that'll be fifth item down, $275.75. That's the startup, and I received the new bill today for about $174. So it's gone down from the $305 to $174 is what we'll be trying to. And then the rest are utilities, gas, water, electric. Then we have sport house and snow removal and 2 iPasses that the state claims we did not return.
I do not know where those are at. I pulled the one out of the chief's car and I returned that. So maybe they'll catch up in their system and we'll end up getting $10 back.
Okay.
But they're shut down regardless.
So checks 147 to 627.69.
Okay, approval of outstanding invoices.
So moved.
In the amount of 147,627.6.
Thank you.
So
Motion by Grum,
I'll second.
second by Snowden. Roll call vote, trustee Grum.
Aye.
Trustee Snowden. Trustee Rogers. Aye. Building and officers update and insurance. Carl, what have you got?
Okay, so I went through everything with our insurance agency, and they've adjusted things. They just sent us a refund for $4,853
Okay.
for the remainder of the year. Our insurance policy, the effective date is 4/25, basically, you know, the May 1st. So they are working on the price for the new contract. We haven't seen that yet, and then when we get that, then we can compare with what, you know, we had also looked at. But basically what they said, and this is nice, it's one of the benefits of working with a company that really handles this kind of business. They knew exactly what we were doing, as it was a conversion to a paper district. They knew exactly what that all entailed, and so we could, within the next few weeks, we'll probably get the quote for next year.
Okay.
What was the refund amount, Carl? I missed that.
The refund was $4,853.
And that's for workman's comp, correct?
No, this is for our liability and
Oh, it's
auto
our-
insurance.
Okay.
Okay,
Liability and P&C.
Do I understand that's, the refund was to cover us from now until April? Or-
Yes.
So do we have insurance from now till April?
Oh, yes, it's just we dropped all the
Just
auto insurance
insurance.
and other things are
Okay, so just a
reduced.
reduction.
It's a reduction, right.
Do we have E&O insurance?
Do we have what?
Ethics and officers?
Errors and omissions.
Errors and omissions, yeah.
Okay, who do I talk to about that?
I can give you the contact info.
Okay, because that's on the agenda here.
Absolutely.
I need to contact them regarding item 14. Okay, any other questions
I
on
did have
that?
another question. Are we going to get a workman's comp check too? In the
Not-
next couple weeks?
Oh, you just did the audit?
Yes.
Once the audit goes through, And, yeah,
Okay.
I would certainly expect that we should get a refund rather
Okay.
than paying them anything, because
Right,
we
okay,
closed the books on that in October.
okay,
But until they process that audit, they won't
Right.
know for sure.
okay, thank you.
So,
Okay. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Next item is building appraisal update. I spoke with Brian last week, and the listing agent said he may have someone interested in purchasing the building versus leasing the building. So I spoke with Brian, and he sent me a statute, and one of the things that should I read B?
I've got copies for everybody, so they
Okay,
can go back.
B is what's applicable to getting an appraisal and moving forward that way, correct?
Well,
Or do you want to cover this?
let me cover it.
Okay,
That's why I brought all these papers.
okay,
Because this item on the building appraisal of number 11 and item 12, consideration of potential sale, are really kind of linked.
okay,
So the first thing on the appraisal, our resolution that we passed, the appraisal was for a lease only, had nothing to do with the sale.
right.
So this is nice, but it really doesn't help. In the email to President Rogers, I noted that the appraisal for the value of a property for lease is different than the appraisal
Right,
for the value of a property for sale.
correct.
So this is nice, this is current, this is the sign, but this is not consistent with that. So that's there. This is what President Rogers was talking about. There's just copies. This is section 10A of the Fire Protection District Act. And there's paragraphs that could be applicable on how to do the sale or exchange of property, the sale or lease of property, not the exchange. And I pass this out just for your information. I agree with President Rogers. The provisions under paragraph A essentially says you're sold to the highest bidder at a public auction or sealed bids. Those are, as a general rule, we don't recommend you follow those. The board loses control over what it is. If the five of us came in and I bid $1, he bid $2, he bid $3, he bid $4, he bid $5 in an open bid, then you're stuck with that, and that's not right. So I don't like the open bids. Now the sealed bids, you have to still provide a notice, and you can establish a minimum. But again, you lose control. Paragraph B is a little more flexible, and I gave you the language because I tried to come up with a nice simple way to do it, but there was no easier way than to say, here's the language.
Right.
You can authorize the sale, but we have to do a valuation of the property by a certified appraiser,
Right, right here,
and da-da-da.
right.
Then once we have the value of the property, then we have to do a resolution saying, we no longer need it, and here's the value. And then once you have the resolution, then we have to publish the resolution for a period of time, so when you do that. And then once we do all that, then you go through the process of saying, okay, we'll take the bids, the board considers bid at an opening, a public meeting, which is a bid opening, and there's a procedure you follow. And then once we do that, then you determine if any of the bids conform to the requirements, and if they do, then then you consider whether you want to do it, or if they meet the minimums, whether you want to do it.
So what would be the procedure you think we should follow if we get a offer for purchase from the agent versus somebody who leases? Begin this? Should I start by getting an appraisal regardless, so that down the road the next board has the appraisal in hand?
Correct.
Okay.
You need, the first step of all these is that certified MIA appraisal.
Okay,
Because
and I've got that right here. I don't have, strike that, I have the range of value that he would then move forward with doing an actual MAI appraisal. So I will talk to these folks soon and get that going regardless.
right, okay,
And
so
then if the proposed offer falls within what the appraisal is, then we can move, no? Okay, tell me the next step.
we have, the section, and when we go through it, we come up with the appraisal, then we have a resolution declaring the property surplus, and so, soliciting bids for the sale at not less than this amount. Then, and in that date, we're gonna have to have the terms of the proposal, and you say, submit your sealed bids not later than a certain date. It's like a bid, except
Okay.
this is far more formal. And then once we have those sealed bids, then we have a public meeting at which the sealed bids are open.
Correct.
And then we register.
Okay, so it
those.
is a bid opening.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, real estate is and that's why leases are very different than a sale.
Got it.
And so we got a whole bunch of steps. The other thing I wanted to just for your information, even assuming, let's just assume we're past all that, and you've gone through the process and you have bids, and the bids are fine, and they all conform, and it's an amount that you think is fair. There's the checklist we use for any real estate sale. As you can see, it's a little involved. I'll tell you that typically when we do the sale of a residential property, it takes us about 4 to 6 weeks to put it together.
Okay.
When we do a sale of commercial property, which is what this is, you could almost double that. You're looking, I would tell you, you're probably in the 8 to 12 week easily. The whole purpose of this is, one, we have a very specific procedure we have to follow by law if the board is interested in, and two, that procedure would take 3 to 4 months, assuming that's the board's pleasure. And there's a lot of work that it's all going to start with the certified MAI appraisal.
So we'll get that in place, so that that's here for the next board, and then they can.
And then the next, and that's what I was going to say. Given where we are in timing, with the April 2nd election and the seating of the elected board in May, I don't think this board is in a position to. You could certainly start the appraisal work and enable the next board to make their determination.
Correct. We'll prepare everything and get everything in place, and then they can decide what they want to do from there.
Right, and that's why I went through this drill, just so you could see what was involved.
Perfect.
And there are a couple of other difficulties that we also have to deal with. One, which is, if we sell the building, where do we put the office?
Well,
And another one, which is, what do you do with the money?
well, it's still, the district can still have a district. I have other districts that are paper districts, and you have, it sits in an account. But we have to have meetings.
No. Well, my issue is when I say, what do you do with the money in terms of now you've got, let's say, $2 million, right? And so most people would say, well, you should lower your levy. But it's not that simple, because you've only got the $2 million. Now you can never raise the levy again because of PTEL. So you've got to try to figure out how to smooth that out over 20 years or something without people then beating on you saying you're sitting on all this cash. Why are you collecting taxes? So it's a complicated problem.
And that's why I think the board needs to carefully consider it. But just getting all the dominoes lined up, 3 to 4 months, and that's why it's really going to be the next board that's going to be in a position to determine how they want to proceed. I think you're right. It's the same question we had, with the lease. What's the value of the lease?
Right.
Well, this is that. This is the sale, and the law says you got to start with the certified MAI appraisal.
Like I said, so we'll get that in place,
Right.
and we'll plug along at it, and we'll make sure that everything is in place, and then the next board can choose to move in whatever direction they would like. Yeah.
So that's why because I wanted you to understand how we get all this craziness.
Okay, that sounds good. So that kind of puts 12 off to the side with 11. That kind of brought that all together.
Right.
13, use of the building. So it was not an event as such. The Lake County Sheriff contacted me and asked me if the building might be available for use for canine training. And I said I didn't see why not. Guess I owe both the trustees to either side of me. I didn't expect it to come around this quick, and it did. They provided me with a certificate of insurance of liability, which I will pass along, and a check for $120, and they used it for a couple hours for training canines. So that's what it was all about, and if they continue to want to use it, I will funnel it through Tammy as to dates and time. Are there any objections for governmental use for canine training? Do you have any objection to that training? Okay, do you have any objections?
I think the rules that we set
Right.
previously, I think the building obviously is not
Right, this was
the
not a...
same use, so.
Right.
First by law, and that's, I thought I could shoot you the copy.
Thank you so much. Okay, sorry to make the chiefs wait. We're back to the consideration of the ordinance of the Fire District Prevention Code.
Because we have copies of everything. That's the same thing I sent out.
Yeah,
I did not print it out, so I'm going to hand it.
Right, it's a copy
Get this?
of an ordinance that approves essentially the fire prevention code that Chief Siebert mentioned. Of course, I accepted a number of changes. What I bring to the board's attention, just because we need to kind of review it, if you go to, on the bottom right, it says page 6 of 7, that's his exhibit that has the code.
Want to follow along with that? Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, the chief noted that this is consistent with the county's code, which is helpful, and that's what you always look for. But on page 7, there's 3 items and highlights, and this is something I need guidance for. The chief said we don't have to adopt this tonight, so given that there's still some clarifications that we need, perhaps that's what you do, is just give me direction, I can finalize it for the next week, and that's fine. But the question, really just a confirmation from the board on the section that's 1-18.1A, to whom the fees will be paid. I mean, right now, like he said, the Lake County sends its fees to the Lake Forest City Council, and that's what his proposal suggests. If they're doing the work, and that's where the county fees go. If the board is amenable to it, I'd say, don't create a whole new system, follow that system.
Let me ask a quick question. For the Libertyville area, would it be appropriately paid to Libertyville then?
So, I guess we have to look at what kind of fees are you talking about? So, are we talking about permit fees, are we talking about plan review fees, are we talking all of it?
Well, this specifically addresses plan review. Shall be according to most fee schedule approved by the city of Lake Forest. I'm just asking if we need clarification in there that for the Lake Forest half versus the Libertyville half, that if you're reviewing the plans, that you get the fee.
Yeah, I would say that.
Peter,
it would probably be easiest to just send each on that particular.
And that's why I kept the highlight, because I don't know the answer.
Yeah. And typically what happens, so the way we work it with the Libertyville Fire Protection District is they're not even involved in that process. So we bill the architect or the business that is submitting the plans. They have to pay that fee, and they pay it directly to the village of Libertyville.
so do we
the
need
same
just
process
do we need
I'm
just
not
a
sure how
line
Lake
in there
Forest-
saying fees to be paid directly to Lake Forest / Libertyville as applicable?
Well, I'll fix the wording. I'm gonna have to go back and fix this. I'll fix the wording.
I'm just asking.
Right, that's essentially what it'll say.
Okay.
To either, do you wanna go to city council, chief?
I mean, like, say, if you guys wanna put all, amendments to it, and what you think, we can get a final document, we can take that back, and we can run it past respective attorneys, and
You weren't here, Chief Siebert and I were talking before you got here. I said, when I do these codes, I'm kind of accustomed to saying, here's the codes we're adopting, and here's all the amendments that kind of tailor it to us. And this is a good start, but I don't know if there's any of those amendments that need to be done.
So I think the two fire prevention guys, when they were talking, I mean, they have their amendments, we have our amendments. I think it was agreed to maybe leave it simple to start and see where we end up, because we're just kind of scratching the surface here. We don't want to dive into all these. And then the other thing is, we don't want their amendments on one side, our amendments on the other. You guys want a consistent code across the board. So if we just leave it the general code,
it's county code.
Then it's going to be consistent throughout the whole district.
Well, and that's fine. I just want,
Do you guys want clarification in there though?
We
Well, I
need
know
that
you do.
clarification.
You want clarification on everything. As far as who gets, as far as that you each get paid for the areas that you,
I think it makes sense. I think if we
Okay.
come up with whatever amended before the next meeting, then we can get it all approved.
Did we have any, and I apologize, I don't have our agreement with us, but I can't remember if we had anything in the, service agreement that addressed fees for plan reviews and stuff.
I don't remember.
no, there was nothing in there that addressed fees.
That it would be provided, but not that it
Right.
went any further.
Okay.
And in fact, that's the reason I asked the question, because as I recall, the service agreement payments go to you and then you share it. You,
Yeah. But that's
whatever you want. It's
That's the
easily done.
IGA service.
If I could ask you both, if you just email me, I know you have my email addresses. If you email me to whom you want the payment made, because to me it seems kind of crazy to send it to the village board or the city council, because they don't have to do it.
No, Village of Libertyville Fire Department. The money team
The
was
city
putting
of
it
Lake
out.
Forest would work.
Okay.
I can still send you.
Yeah, email, because that way I'll make sure I have the right language. I don't want to screw something up.
Cisco, let me call you back in 10 minutes.
Okay, so those two, the third item on this, and this is
Let's
really.
go to the second item,
Huh?
red tag fees.
Well, I took care of the top one and we took care of the bottom one, because they mirror each other. In the middle one, the red tag fees, that's a question for you guys. I don't know what the fee you want to assess. If somebody is in violation, the code enforcement officer will go and say, put a red tag on and say cease and desist. If they continue to operate contrary to this red tag, cease and desist order, you can impose.
Doesn't the county handle that anyhow? We don't.
So typically in the fire protection district areas, if we have a fire and we need a building red tag, or there's a code violation, they do it. We as a fire department we don't red tag anything. I don't know if Lake Forest might.
Or building or conduct or building.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay,
saying.
so again, you would contact the county in our case, right, Pete?
Oh, yeah, have them come out and.
So do we even need number one in there?
Well, if you want if they're in violation of the county order.
But the county already takes care of that. It doesn't matter what's in our ordinance. If they call and say there's a violation.
Well, that's not totally true, because we had that case that came up in Wakanda a couple years ago, where the district imposed a code and the village imposed a code, and the village said our code trumps yours, and lo and behold, it went to court, and it was like, no.
But we don't have a village code. We just have the county here.
You're about to have a village code, so.
I understand, but if there's a code violation and Pete calls the county and says Bill's shoe repair is in violation, the county's gonna come out and red tag us.
So it's gonna be, shall be as promulgated by Lake County.
Can I maybe offer some language that might help
Please.
out here? So, I think the red tag language is a little confusing because, so if you take red tag out and maybe change it to any work performed without a permit, and that's how we do it, any work performed without a permit, the permit fee doubles. We don't do a daily charge, but the permit fee is doubled. So if the permit fee was $220, it then becomes $440.
And that's how the county is.
Yeah, so I mean, we just kind of, so in the red tagging, that, again, we would not be red tagging anything. If we saw something under construction that was not permanent, our first phone calls to the county to say, hey, you need to come out and take a look at this, or let us know, is there a permit, kind of thing.
So should,
If you email me that language, I'll just delete that paragraph and replace it with the chief suggestion.
right, but
And
it
then I
should
can get it to you
it
guys.
should basically say, any construction done without a permit, Lake County PB&Z will be notified to handle the applicable.
And permit fees will double. I mean, that's why I'll get his language and I'll just incorporate that and you can approve it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll send you what we had.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, if that's what they do,
Carl, is
that's
that okay
fine.
with you? Bob?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
So I'll fix this for the next meeting.
Okay. Sounds reasonable.
And in the interim, if either of you guys have something you want me to consider to include, just email it to me. Because that way I can get it to them in advance.
And this last one then too, where it is in parentheses, City of Lake Forest.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna make that
we already-
mirror the other way, whatever you have language to make it, for the applicable respective response areas.
Okay.
And then I apologize for not reading this yet, unfortunately, I haven't even seen it. Kenny's can handle this, but I just wanna make sure it says in here that the Libertyville Fire Department and the Lake Forest Fire Department have the authority to enforce through you guys these codes, so. Just so it's kind of.
Well, I put that in the preambles,
Okay.
the preambles where it says you provide service pursuant to an IGA, and then we adopt those as part of the ordinance, so.
Yeah, it's on page 2.
Yeah, okay, good.
Right, it's part of, it's the second paragraph, the second whereas.
I see it. Thank you.
Yep.
See, the whereases are important.
The whereas is not important. All right, trustee Sullivan, do you have anything else? Trustee Grum, anything else? Chiefs, anything else? With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. It's 5:42. So moved. Second. Moved by Grum, second by Snowman, all in favor? Aye. Aye, meeting is adjourned. Thank you to everybody.